hopefully you can hear me. We're trying a new mic again, so hopefully this will work better this time. Okay, so I just finished a project with the Modern Spellcaster Tarot, and this lovely book here. So this tarot deck is Wiccan influenced and really deals with using tarot in your magic practice, and talks about that, treating it like a magic tool, which is great and everything, but for tarot readers, it leaves it a bit lacking. But the art for this, and from what I understand, the art direction and everything, is just really rich, not only with Rider-Waite type symbolism, but it goes a lot further into Wiccan and pagan, high magic, and all kinds there. But the book doesn't really deal with that, except for on page 6, there is a section with a few symbols. Some of them are a bit more prominent, especially the major animals of the suit cards, which are pictured on the back: the dog or wolf, bird, squirrel, and fish. But especially the majors, but also in the minors, there's a lot of other symbolism as well, and I really wanted to get to know that more. So the book does a good job of giving you some base meanings that you can work with, but you can expand that. And this goes for any deck, that studying the symbolism and knowing the parts of the deck that are available to you can really expand your reading and the understanding of tarot, both in readings and path working, and just in any occult study. So what I did here, and I'll go ahead and I can just minimize that, make this available on my website, and I'll put a link down at the bottom. But I created this document. So it talks a little bit. So some things to note. I'm not going into full, well, there is some in here, Rider-Waite, Thoth, or any other kind of standard tarot symbolism. Because you can find that lots of places. There are lots of sources for that, and that's not what really this is for. This is really for this specific deck. And some of that does cross over, but not complete, not not in everything. I tended to keep away from masculine and feminine for different reasons, just because different systems use different things different ways. While I did use Wiccan sources, I also used other sources as well, which are all listed in the document, and you can check out for yourself, and I definitely encourage you to. I may have missed some symbols, either because I couldn't tell exactly what they were supposed to be and couldn't find anything in the text to tell me, or I really didn't feel like it added. But if I missed something, please let me know, and I can definitely add it, or we can discuss it. I didn't really deal with colors at all. There's lots of history and colors in the deck, and in this deck, and in all tarot decks. So I decided to leave that out, just because there's so much more to go into. That could be its own topic. The last thing is that symbols, just like tarot cards, mean so many different things. But other than that, I put, you can kind of see here, I put symbols. I tried to put what the symbol was. If it wasn't completely clear, I couldn't get royalty-free images for all of them, unfortunately. So I may not have some in here, but I do have the names, and if it had multiple names for any reason, you'll be able to Google them. You'll even look them up on some of the sources that I've listed here. But it's a good sized document, and it's a good place to start if you don't have a list of symbols, access to symbol dictionaries, or anything like that. It's always a good thing to have. Every deck it means so much more if you know about the symbolism. And this doesn't supersede any RWS symbolism that's in this deck. It really doesn't. While I do list symbol meanings for dogs and symbol meanings for wolves, You know, on the moon card, the dog and the wolf together are the balance of tame and untamed, of, you know, of wild and homebound. That still holds true, even when you're looking at what the dog means versus what the wolf means. Um, so lots of animals, items, vehicles. Some of them have many, like here, the Solar Cross, also Cosmic Cross, Sun Cross, Wheels Cross, Odin's Cross, Wheel of Tyrannus, and then there's also a Solar Cross with 4 dots, and it means something a little bit different. I didn't say what meaning came from where, but for the majority of the symbols, unless something was very specific to a certain spot, then I went ahead, I pretty much used something for all this. And just kind of go through my sources here. So, Green Witchcraft 1 and 2 by Anne Moira are 2 really good books that deal with a lot of, they have a lot of correspondences and meanings in the books themselves. Victorian Grimoire by Patricia Telesco. I liked this book not only because it deals with traditional Wiccan symbolism, but she spent a lot of time pulling things out of Victorian sources and specific Victorian beliefs. So that really helped with things like flowers and stones and things like that that were prevalent in here. Of course, the Spellcaster's Tarot by Melanie Marcus and Scott Murphy. Not only did I refer to the meanings of the actual cards that were in there, but she does list symbols on page 6, or starting on page 6, to reference as well. And I wanted to make sure that those meanings were reflected here. A Dictionary of Symbols by J.E. Serlot. I think it's Serlot, not Serlot. I might be wrong. But this is a pretty comprehensive, big, thick book of symbols and their history and their mythology and everything behind it. And I really encourage you to, if you really want to know what a symbol came from, how it evolved, this is one of the places to check out. Reading Tea Leaves by Highland Seer, as well as the Tea Leaf Fortune Cards by Ray Hepburn. Tea Leaf symbolism has a bunch of different origins and types and connotations, and they had a lot more of the more obscure, weird things that there isn't a richer symbolism history for, or mythology for, but they still had those listings. A Dictionary for Dreamers by Tom Chetwynd, so this covers the psychology angle, really dealing with Freud and Jung, and the different psychologists and psychological thought, and where symbols and dreams come from. And then the Native American Dictionary of Symbols, which is a website that you can go to. This is a pretty comprehensive, I think it's mostly Navajo. I might be wrong. I think it did cover some other things, but I know there was a lot of Navajo symbolism. But I think especially it's important to note that some of these symbols, especially things like the Solar Cross, animal symbolism and things like that, taking that into account, I think helps in a deck like this. Symbols.com is a great place. It has symbols for everything, not just what we would consider classical symbolism, but even modern day, everything from flags to crests to signs. But it was pretty comprehensive. If it had a visual representation, you can find it there. The Symbol Dictionary, a visual glossary, also a great website. This one is really great for more classical symbolism, as well as anything that had glyphs. So I was able to, it helped me identify the glyphs and what their actual names were. And then the Dictionary of Symbolism from the University of Michigan. And this was put together, the Symbolism project has been put together and edited by a few students over the years. But it's great too because it has a little blurb about history and kind of has some different perspectives on where some of the symbols came from. I'm releasing this document under Creative Commons. Asking for attribution, but and make sure your stuff is shareable, but not for commercial use. I'm not looking to make any money off this. This is really something that, for me, was a labor of love. I love symbols and what they mean and knowing what they mean. So I really wanted to be able to share this with everyone as well. All right. So I just thought I'd really quickly, look at some of the cards here. So these are the majors here. And I mean, these are beautiful, beautiful cards. Really, really beautiful. There's just so much here. So, for example, here's the Wheel of Fortune. It has Set and Apep, the snake, and the opposing forces of chaos and evil attached to the wheel, the blind monkey. Very much Rider-Waite symbolism, classic tarot. But instead of the apostles, we have the seasons. So represented by the Davy, a green leaf, a maple leaf, and a snowflake. And the symbols in here are actually the alchemical symbols for the seasons. And which on the back of the card they use the German Clog Almanac symbols. Though, as I've said in another video, I don't understand the order, and I've tried to. These have been listed in several Wiccan books as Wiccan symbols, but they do trace back to German almanacs as well. But the zodiac around the wheel, the triple goddess symbol, and even the pentacle in the middle. I mean, so we're looking at a combination of the elements here. Not just that time turns and the bad and the good will turn as your wheel turns, and as the seasons turn, but also a balancing of elements, both here and in the pentacle in the middle. The seasons of the goddess, almost a more short term of the monthly moon cycle. I think that you can read this as both as a long-term and short-term card. Or here, in Justice, not only do we have the scales, but we have the pomegranate and the death's hand, reminiscent of Persephone. The black and white pillars, Joachim and Boaz, similar to the High Priestess. The wheel, again, not only do the wheels of justice turn, but a lot of these cards harken back to the one before, which is what I really like about this deck. I did kind of ignore that this deck has wands as air and swords as fire, because that's not how I read tarot. But like with anything, if you resonate differently with a symbol, definitely read into that, because that's going to mean something to you. But, this is also luck. So how is your luck going in this? If I were to pull this reverse and read this as a reverse, I might wonder if your luck is turning bad in the realm of justice. It's representative of the seasons, of rebirth, of change, all in the justice card, all in relevance to justice. And of course we have the world tree symbolism here, the runes, the hanged man, more representative of a mummified person than somebody being hanged, but also Odin, the night and day aspects, or even winter and spring. And even the really tiny, so we have, let's see, I don't know if you can see it right here, but the symbol for Saturn, which is also a very similar symbol to death, with the sky and the hourglass being part of Saturn's symbols. This one was tough for me here, because I'm reminded of Baphomet from the Church of Satan. But just knowing this, like, the flowers here, the chaos symbol, the snakes, temptation, but also knowledge, enlightenment, the squared spiral, being creation of the universe. It's not always bad things. Lightning bolts. And just different, let me see, one that is just so much, and I commented this before on my going through this deck. The Emperor. There's so much here with the acorn, and all these are masculine godhead symbols, but also strength, renewal, everything from the fire to the acorn, horn god, the Tibetan / Buddhist lightning symbol, which I cannot pronounce, and I forget which one. It's like a Varja and Darja, but I'm pronouncing it wrong. I did put the names for them next to lightning. The crown of flowers, the fact that he is the horn god, but also deer-headed god, bull, the solar cross again, and even here with the all-seeing eye. And I don't remember all these off of the top of my head, so I'm scrolling through the document here to get to where I need to get. So B, this is again Boaz, the negation, but it's like a double negation. The cat of tails, not say cat of tails because it's not the specific number. And then we have the two people here in supplication, but they're hiding. Goddess worship, the devil worship, right there. Or here in the lovers, the cross, sacred heart, the rainbow, the weeping willow. Everything that has to do with ceremony. The implements here, the apple, and the hand fasting itself. Everything that has to do with ceremony and love and all of these wonderful things, but also contracts and covenants and bindings and things that may be done against your will. Just so much here. The lotus, the fire, and here with the frogs and the snakes going to the fire. I mean, there's just a lot here to pack away in the stack, and it's pretty amazing. So, this was, like I said, a labor of love. If this helps you, great. If you like it, let me know. If you have comments about it or questions, or you notice the things I missed. Like, I found lots of things for lines, but not these 3 lines specifically. And I made some educated guesses. But if you know more, or if there's something that I missed, or a source that I could go to, I'd love to know. I don't think I can ever get everything out of this, but I do hope that you enjoyed this, and thank you so much for listening, and I hope that this document is useful for you. So thanks.